What's up, everyone? Sorry, that was annoying as fuck. Today we're gonna talk about track 4 on Tundra, which is a song called Squall, which is written after a actual snow squall that I saw on my way to work one day, and I was riding the train through it, and it was fucking crazy. So after seeing that and experiencing that fast, intense storm, I wanted to captivate that moment in audio form. Definitely knew I wanted this to be the shortest song on the record, and I also knew I wanted this to be a really fucking intense song. I wanted it to be a faster song compared to the rest of my stuff, but I mean it's just at 146 BPM, which isn't the fastest thing in the world, but compared to everything else on the record, I definitely wanted it to be more driving, and I wanted it to be intense, really heavy, and quick. So here we are. Let's dive into it. So I have everything in the song grouped. I always name it Air Thang. The song isn't really too complicated. It's drums, bass, guitars, a drum loop, and that same wind effects and some of that vibey stuff in the intro. So going into the drums, usual drum sound that the rest of the record is on. We'll play those by themselves for you real quick. A lot of cool, intense parts on this song. I wanted to make sure I was able to actually play it first, so like the rest of the songs on this album, I sat behind a kit and kind of jammed out stuff. And this is definitely kind of a tricky song on drums. I would have to practice it. If I ever do a playthrough video of it, I'm probably going to practice it a decent amount. It's fast, and the parts can trip me up sometimes. I'm sure for a different drummer, this song would be like cake. I like that little mathy part in the middle of the song. Got your kick, got your snare. Oh, I actually left the kick chain on, so you can check that out. Filtered. There's a gate because there's a lot of kicks in this song, so I wanted them to not have as much weight and not last as long. If I take the kick out, it's like the kicks take up so much more time, and there's just a lot of headroom that I wanted to save by putting a gate on the kick. Here, I'll solo it for you. So without the gate, with the gate, it's a lot cleaner. Then we got our bass, which really increases any bass transient a lot. That's without our bass. That's with our bass. And I could have layered this kick to get that same effect of that thump. Could have put another drum sample, but it felt more natural to try and enhance the drum set performance than to layer stuff on top of it for this specific instance, because I wanted this to be more of an organic rock and roll kind of post-metal almost song. Then we got some compression to bring it up to volume. That's without. Just bringing more of the, cutting the attack of that transient and just bringing the rest of it up. EQ. Wanted it to stick out a bit more, so this is peaking out at about 8K. Got a nice decent boost here, and there's a little bit of the 20K taken out. Just wanted the kick to cut through a bit more in the mix. I find that helps me connect to a drum part more is when I can hear the beater of the kick, and I can hear its attack really clearly. Unless it's a really wide open spacey song that you can hear the kick no matter what, but this is a rock song with a million fucking guitars in it, so this definitely helps to hear that. There's a bit more reinforcement of this actually. This is around 4.5K, but it's a pretty wide Q, and it's boosted up a bit. And this is around 71 hertz. I boosted a little bit. Some filtering at the end just to take out this little tail end of bullshit that you can't really hear anyway. And it just takes up so much headroom. So yeah, that's actually still in there. So I'm going to freeze that again. And while we're freezing this, I'll explain that the floor toms took a minute to get right in this song because, yeah, they just weren't poking out on the way I wanted to in that intro part. Yeah, it's like a floor tom heavy part. So I had to layer that with 2 different floor tom samples. Now here's another one. One's obviously much louder than the other one. And then I got these sending. Well, I have one of them sending to a bunch of drum set verbs, but this one is just to like get the tone peeking through a bit more. Yep, so that ended up working. Cymbals, I'm pretty much doing everything else that I'm doing for the rest of the songs. Nothing crazy here. You know, bright goodness, but not abrasive, so. Made sure they were spread a decent amount with this imager here. I can show you, yeah, like a sizable amount of delay from pretty much the whole spectrum except for the sub. Stereo delay, I mean. I just like when they're wide open like that. It creates a nice image, and it's just very pleasing for my tastes and my personal ear. So I left the ride chain in, and I'll show you how that sounded. In this song, I mostly use it as a crash ride, but we're going to show you. Filtered out everything from below 118 hertz because it's useless for this sound. Compressed it. And then compressed it more. I'm kind of squashing the attack. Have about 5 dB of gain reduction. Put an imager on it again, because it wasn't spread enough. Sometimes you need layers of stuff. And then I actually used the Ableton saturator on it, which is pretty cool. I have it on a medium kind of drive setting. That's it without it. It felt weak, you know? Here, let me put that back in now. It just needed a bit more. Here's it without the imager as well. With the imager. Even though this is kind of a panned sound already because it's part of a drum set, I still wanted it to just not be so narrow, if that makes any sort of sense. And then just dipped out some annoying EQ parts like this. Yeah, that was annoying me. So I got that out of there. And yeah, should have filtered this out, but it actually wasn't too much of a sizable difference. So yeah, once I got into a nice groove with this record, this was probably the 3rd or 4th song I actually started writing with like a big drum set. And once I got the drum set to sound good, I was like, okay, I think I know what I'm doing now. So I just wanted to like ball out. On bass, there's some interesting bass layering in this song actually. So there's your standard bass guitar, except it's real fuzzy, but not for the whole song. So I actually automated that. This fuzz sound was like eating up my entire mix when I would have it on while the bass wasn't playing. So I had to really just like dial in where the bass is playing. Otherwise, it just created so much fucking noise. What I'm using for this fuzz sound is an Ableton saturator, hard curve setting, drive all the way the fuck up, turn the output down. And I'm also using UAD raw a bit. So I generally don't combine these sounds, but I think that UAD raw kind of sucks out some of the tones sometimes. So I like have it kind of on the raw. Here's it without anything. So a little bit more. Now it's really killing. And then I just wanted the bzzz of it to dip down a bit, so that's why this EQ is that way. This is on a send. This is not on the bass track. I usually don't go over sends till the end of the video, but this is kind of a special circumstance in which I only use this send for this one sound. Like, I named it bass fuzz and I blended it this way because I sometimes when you have it directly on a track, it just has a different way of blending from dry to wet that is hard to get right. It's harder to dial it in when you don't just have a fader on the side here, because I wanted that dry signal and I didn't want any like tone that I normally like in a bass guitar to get lost. I just wanted to add to the signal I had already. So yeah, this bass part's cool. Like some bass pull-offs here. Kind of sounds like Tool or some shit. I don't know. Yeah, I really dig the bass and drums in this song, and then it gets super heavy at the end. Yeah, I didn't need as many rhythm guitars on this song because this filled out a lot of that space nicely. So underneath this, there is a Contact library called Substance that has incredible synth-based sounds. And this is one of them. It's just like an arpeggiated kind of loop thing that just like really kept the tension going. And it's honestly driving the song for the first kind of bit where the drums come in. So. And it's just literally that. Kind of like techno-y. I don't even know. I do have that pretty narrow and pretty centered because for some reason the bass ended up sounding better. The bass guitar ended up sounding better wide. So it's like, it was hard to mix these up. And I think it creates like a good balance stereo field wise. Yeah, I was actually really stoked with the way this bass and drums came out on this song. And I think they get overlooked a little bit because there's so much fucking crazy guitar shit going on. That's my fault. Oops. And this song, texturing is like everything. I had an EQ turn on for us. Yeah, there was some EQing needing to be automated on these guitars. This guitar took a lot of like mid-side stuff. Like I was saying, just automated EQs at certain parts to get right because there's just so much treble in this song and so much like high mids, and scooping everything took a lot of time, but I did it. So we have the main part, which starts off on its own and then gets doubled. So the way I got this sound is like a normal guitar rig sound, but then I also use that H reverb trick from Kosciuszko, but dialed it in a little bit differently. It's kind of like a fade from a wet to a dry reverb, and then like... Yeah, the doubling worked really well. I mean, as it always does. Later in the song, I actually added more saturation in this part. As you can see. Sounds like crap on its own, but and really like thin at parts because I needed it to be that thin because I tracked like a bunch of Les Paul stuff on this, which was like super beefy sometimes. I think this is my Talman, the single coil sound, getting the twanginess but not the beefiness. At least not in this specific instance. It can be beefy if it wants to. I love my guitar. So Yeah, this is like a super thin, trebly Les Paul sound. But actually, I don't know. It's driven in a different way that isn't like, it's more of like a harder middle sound. I definitely needed this to carve out the right way. And the way I did this, if I unfreeze, is via, here, you can hear it really quick. So what we got going on here is an orange sound, no reverb or anything. On this song, I actually didn't use reverb that much. Kind of crazy. There's some compression. 5 dB gain reduction, about squashing the attack, bringing everything up. This is something I had to fuck with and learn how to fuck with for this song, mid-side EQ. The Good Hurts one is incredible. Anything Good Hurts makes is really, really good. I really don't have as much experience mid-side EQing stuff, so I did have to fuck with this a lot to get it right. From what I can see here, it looks like I wanted more of a side kind of profile with this sound and the mid kind of stuff to be dipped out. But I do need to fuck with these kinds of things more to make my mixes better. But anything below 800 hertz was mono. Yeah, that's really about all I could say. Did a couple other little fixes down here. Again, another guitar that sounds like shit on its own, but in context with everything else, ended up sounding really good because the bass took up more of the higher frequencies than normal. So I actually was able to take out some of the muddier stuff of most of the guitars. Yeah, I just wanted to have a very end of the world feel with these. Freezing the guitars, yeah, freezing. So now we got another Les Paul sound here that I didn't label appropriately. Another sound from Guitar Rig. Yeah, as you can see, I kind of had each guitar part and layer take up a specific part of these frequency spectrum because it was very easy for things to clash in the song, especially with the leads on it too. So this is more of a low mid sound combined with this. So that's like 5 layers of rhythm guitars, but it ended up sounding pretty beefy, especially with the bass and drums included. Everything had to have its own space for this song to work, because I usually don't make songs like this, but I like having at least like one heavy song on each release, if I can. That's a part that comes in on the left, and then its cousin comes in on the right. That part was super fun. It's like a combination of picking and tapping. I don't know why I mimed it when it's like right here for you to just listen to. Have this setting to like a little small room reverb, just so it has a little bit of character. And then when things start building and kicking in more, it's time for like it was time for like a like a tension building 16th note kind of palm muted part. Yeah, I'll put that with the rhythm behind it. Put the drums in with that. Something I don't normally do, one side is one octave and one side's the other, so left is high, right is low. I found that I didn't need more for some reason. And And then we got another kind of tension part where I was hanging out on a note and then bending it a bit more each measure. This is another orange amp sound with a compressor on it, guitar rig. But I wanted this to be, I don't know, sometimes there's like a little difference between double tracking a part because it's like hard panning, and then there's like centering a part but spreading it. They have different effects on a mix and have different like characteristics, but they're very close, and using both of those techniques in harmony, I think, is something that really can help a mix. So before this kind of breakdown part, we have like a pick slide resampled and put through a bunch of reverb and then reversed again and weird shit. Yeah, this is thrown through like a whammy before the amp, and then the amp like distorting the shit out of it, and I wanted it to sound like an animal was squealing and dying or some shit like that. And there's just another pick slide. This is another kind of part, but with more reverb and creating more atmosphere. It looks like garbage and it looks like I'm just brick walling, but I promise you the waveforms before I printed all the plugins were not like that. And it's tamed, but it is strong. Yeah, it's just all trem picking. Really annoying to listen to on its own, but yeah, it just needed that heavy layer. And then we got one of my favorite parts in this song that kind of goes under the radar a bit. Yeah, it's just kind of that. And I kept this chain in to show you what's going on. So it's guitar rig, and then one of my greatest revelations on this record was putting the pitch pedal before the amp, letting the amp just do some crazy shit with it, and doing like a whammy halfway between wet and dry on an octave up. There's obviously my favorite little reverb in here, coloring stuff and kind of giving it that wideness, but also I beefed it up with Imager to widen it up. And about 3-5 dB of gain reduction. Some other corrective EQ, and then I had to mid-side EQ it like the last time and just try to get some shit right. Here's it without the mid-side EQ. And also, it should be noted that this is automating and panning from left to right just to give it some spice and not be so stagnant. And it's also automating in reverb at the end here. I actually forgot I did that, but I'm really happy I did because it immediately just like went away. It made the end less like harsh when it was finally over. I had to automate a bunch of things to get this to cut out right like this. You can see that working right there. If you're not a guitar player, you might not know that I actually had to unplug my guitar while I was recording to get those sounds. But I wanted it to sound like, fuck you, I'm done. And like, I don't know, that was something I always found cool to see at shows. Like when I would go to like Fall of Troy shows and I would see the last part of the last song and like Thomas would go crazy and then like the guitar would be unplugging and it would just sound like chaos, and I just kind of wanted that there. And then there's actually some percussion loops winding down this track. I was going to leave this in, but it wasn't anything too crazy because it's literally just like a shaker kind of sound with redux on it, which is the bit crusher, and then just spreading it out and EQing it. And this is, again, like the bass sound, something to just help that hop and that tension. I'll play it with the bass sound. Here's some drums with it. Yeah, it just helped with the groove. And then lastly, we have the wind sound that is prevalent on this entire fucking album. Definitely helped out with the beginning and the end. Okay, so for the beginning, there's actually a combination of things going on here. Some files got moved around on my computer, but this is a resampling of a song off my last record, reversed, and kind of fading in, and it's the EQ's fading into, and the bit reduction is automating into, and it's all just like fading in, and kind of, it sounds pretty for a second, and then it goes like, oh, nope, we're descending into hell. And that was the goal there. This is a sound from Aurora, which is a Contact library. I think it was free, and it was super cool. A lot of good like horror movie soundtracks and soundscapes. Yeah, I literally just like held it out on one note through the whole song. But what's funny, actually, a little tidbit. So if you listen to the end of Stillness, it has part of this song in it, and Whittier has the end of this song in it, which I wasn't intending to do at the start. I just wanted the Stillness to end somewhere and then this shit to start Squall. But I ended up cutting it to where Aaron said the wake up kind of thing. I was like, oh no, Squall should start right there. And that was like a last minute decision I made when kind of cutting the record and sending it to get mastered. So this is actually part of Stillness right here. And then Squall starts when the guitar starts. Everyone say hello to Kitty Time. He's actually being really cute today. He wants to give me love and pets. Why are you sniffing everything? So yeah. Oh no, not the mic. Oh no. Oh no. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Yeah, I'll pet you. So what I ended up doing for this sound was taking this vocal texture thing, probably put a lot of reverb on it, and then I actually took the pitch and automated it down as time went on. So it sounded like you were just kind of descending into hell. And then I reversed it, faded it in, and then there you go. So moving on to our sends, we have a H reverb sound for the snare that I'm also putting some guitars into. This is a delay that I didn't use much. Actually I used it on some of the stuff just to give it a little texture here and there. The bass fuzz we already went over. This is a kind of a drum room that I dipped, mostly for toms, that I dipped some other stuff into. And when you look at this, I didn't use H reverb for once. I used the IR series from Waves. And then we have a kind of guitar room sound, just giving it like a little Like it's in a closet or some shit or a small live room. Which I use H reverb for. And master chain looks the same as all the other sessions. Ozone EQ, matching EQ, regular ozone, EQing a bit more, stereo imaging a bit, just to get some more wideness because I like wideness, and then just making sure nothing clips, and that would be it for the song Squall. A little shorter of a song, so shorter of a video. Less elements in it, but it's fast, it's strong, and it's fucking metal, baby. So if you haven't listened to it, it's I didn't expect this to be a song that everyone really liked on Tundra, but yeah, everyone really ended up liking it, so fuck you out of that. Thank you guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.